Here we will see about using mock server to fast track the client-side app development. As a developer, most of the time you might have faced challenges to develop the app even before the API is ready. So if you have faced any such challenges, please add your comments in the comment section of this video. So to move further, so what is mock server and how it can help you to fast track your app development? Let's see that in detail in today's session. So what is mock server? So already there are a number of mock server that is available in the market. So you could use mock server while you are writing the unit test cases, or you can write a dummy API and expose it in your server. But the major drawback of using such solution is you can have only one type of response exposed in the mock server. But with this mock server, you could expose your API and you could define multiple variations of the API like in a real-time environment, wherein you could define an API response for 200 status. You could define a response for various HTTP error codes like 500 or 400. So you could define variants of your API, meaning you will have a single API which can produce multiple responses. Okay, and that's the reason it is called as mock server, wherein the mock is called in a plural form, mocks. And this would help you to control your API development even before the actual API is ready. There are three basic components in the mock server. One is routes, the second one is variants, and third one is called as collections. So we will see those things in detail. So what is route? So when you integrate your client app with the API, there is an URL and there is a path within that URL. So when you create a path and when you mock that path, that is called as routes within the mock server. So basically it's a API path of the URL, and you can create multiple variations of the responses for that specific request. Moving next, it is variants. So as I said, you will have a single path, but then single path has to respond with multiple variations of the response for the requested payload, be it a success status code, or be it an error code, or be it various types of response. It can be a text object, or it can be a file object, or it can be a JSON object. So you could have multiple variations of the request or the routes, and that is called as the variants. Third one is the collections. So now you have created a route and you have created a variant. So you can bundle this route and variant to form a collection, so that when you start the mock server, you can define which collection and which variant should be actively served. So since you are defining multiple variations of the same route, it is up to the developer to choose which variation the mock server has to respond to test the client-side app development. So you will package all the routes and variations together to form a collection, or you can extend a collection to form a new collection. Okay, if you see in this diagram, so you have users slash users, get slash users, which is a route, and then this route has three variations. One, it lists all the 5 users, and then the other variation is to list no users, meaning it is a success response, but then the response will be empty. And third one is an error response. So now you have a single route which is like get users, and then you have 3 variants for it. One will list 5 users, one will list no users, and one will give an error message. Okay, and then again there is a route called get a single user, meaning get slash user slash ID, and then it has 3 variants. One to list a single user named John, the other one is to list a single user named Jane, and the third one is to give an not found error message. So now you have a route to list the users and a route to get a single user, and then three variants of each of the route. You will be able to create a collection by picking a route and a variant for that route. So in this diagram, it is like get users and the variant is 5 users plus get a single user and variant is Jane. So the highlighted one forms a collection here. Now let's get into some coding. So I'm going to use Microsoft Visual Studio as the IDE for this demonstration. So first let's initialize an empty node project using npm init command. Okay, so next you need to install the mock server. So I'm going to install mock server. Okay, so now mock server is installed. If you see, we have a package.json and node modules in which we could see the mocks server, the highlighted one. Okay, but now you don't see any files or you don't see any routes or variants. So for that you need to run the command. Oh, okay, before that you need to add a script in the package.json. So just have this script added. Once done, run the command npm run mocks. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. It's mocks server. So let me run it again. Now if you see, mock server is started, and in the Explorer window you could see a new folder created called mocks. Within that you will see routes getting created. So by default mock server will create you some sample routes for users, and you can add n number of routes as you need based on your requirement. Okay, so let's have a quick look into the users.js file. So here, this is the file which defines the route for all user related APIs. So first it defines a sample response like users, all users, and then if you see, we need to create a route and it should have a route ID. It can be like anything, get users, or if it for listing purpose you can have any name like get to dos or get pages or get post, and then the URL for which you need to have a mock, and it should be in the express format, and then the method, whether it is get or post or put or patch, and what are the types of variants. As I said, each route can have multiple variant. So here for the API /AP /users, and for method get you can have multiple variants. So by default it has generated 3 variants, one for success, one for listing all the users, and one for error. Okay, and similarly to get a single user it created a route called get user, and then the URL format is like /AP /users /:id, and then the method is again get. Okay, and then it has 3 more variants here like id, success, to fetch one id called id-3, and then it also had generated one with using a middleware. To know more details about using middleware, files, a plain text, just look into their documentation in mockserver.org. So now you have the users mocks created. Let's go through the collections. So now you have seen routes, variants, and then we'll get into collections. So in the collections, there are four collections that has been defined. One is the base collection, wherein it has added get users success and get user success, meaning get users is the API route and success is the variant. Similarly, get user is the route and success is the variant. Okay. And then there is one more collection which is extended from the base variant, and by default it has added a add header disabled route and variant. And then it has created two more collections, all users and user real, and added the respective route and variant. So now that we have created, or by default it has created a users mock and then a collection. Okay, so now let's do some deep dive into what is there in the terminal. When I ran npm run mocks, it started the server on localhost 3100, and then it had displayed some actions which we need to do. So as I explained, we have four types of collection, and we can use this select collection option to select which collection that has to be served from this mock server. If I hit enter, it lists down all the collections. So now for simplicity, I'm going to select just the base collection. And then there is something called as use route variant. So all the route variants that we have defined in the users will be displayed. Okay. And you can select any of those route variant. I'm going to select get users all. And then there is an option to restore route variants, change delay, restart server if you have modified anything on the JS files, and you can change the log level. So now I'm gonna display the logs. So to get a detailed explanation of each of these actions, again you can visit the documentation. Okay, so I'm gonna display the logs. Okay, so now let's see what happens when I hit this URL in the browser. So I'm gonna copy this base path. I'm gonna hit /AP/users. If you see, it had listed me all the users. Now let's get back to our Visual Studio Code and we'll change the variant. So what I'm gonna do is, again, to get back to the actions menu, click enter. It will list the actions menu, and I'm going to choose the route variant. Instead of all, I'm gonna use get users success. So the get users success variant will display users 1 and 2. Okay, so now we will go back to the browser and hit it again. See, the response has changed. Easy, isn't it? Okay, so now we will customize this users collection by adding some more routes and variant. So let's create a route to create a new user. So I'm gonna add a new route at the end. Okay, so I have added a new route ap/users to create a user. So the method is post and the ID is create user. And I have created two variants of it. One is to give a success status, which is 201 status code. And the other one is error status, which is to give status of 500. So now let me restart the server. Okay, so I have restarted the server. Once again, let me do it. Okay, so now I'm gonna Okay, before that we forgot something. We need to add this create user in our collections. So we are using the base collection, so we need to add create user in the base collection. So I'm gonna add it here, create user success and create user error, without which this would not work. So let me restart the server again. Most of the times you don't need a restart, but for safer side I'm restarting the server. So once the server is restarted, let me choose the route variant. I'm gonna select create user success. Okay, for this purpose we will use Postman. So let's copy paste a sample request payload. So we'll go to Postman. It's going to be a post method, and I'm going to have a raw JSON body. Let's do this quickly. I'm going to give ID as 10, name as demo video, and then we'll give the URL http localhost 2100/API/users. Let's trigger this request. If you see, it says status 201 created, and okay, I haven't displayed the logs. Let me display the logs. Let me go back to Postman and hit it again. It gives me 201 created, and that would be listed here as well in the logs. So now let's change the variant. As I said, hit the enter button, change the variant. Let me put create user error. Okay, and then I'll display the logs. Now going back to the Postman, let's set the same request. Now if you see, the status is given as 500 internal server error. Like mock server also provides an admin API, so you can visit localhost:3.110/docs, which will list the open API portal, and then you can play around with the APIs. So here I'm just gonna hit the mock routes, which will list all the mock routes that we have created for users. So I'm just going to execute it, and if you see, so you get all the mock API IDs, the URLs, and the types of variant. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel Maze Tech Geeks. Also, to get the latest updates about the technology trends, please scan the QR code to join our WhatsApp channel Maze Tech Geeks. Thank you. Bye bye.